Recording.
Change my background now. I
What
got it
was
sounding
background?
up.
Hey, welcome everyone joining us here at the McKinley Community Center and online. We're going to kick off tonight's Denali Borough Assembly meeting with a public hearing. And we have one ordinance on the agenda, which is ordinance 23-01, the Healy Spur Road project match allocation. And I don't believe we've had any written communication on this one. Anyone care to speak to the Healy Spur Road project allocation? Okay. No one online. As we do in these Zoom meetings, if you want to communicate anything with us, you can email public comment at denaliborough.com or give us a call, or actually joining the Zoom meeting link, which if you're only streaming and not on the Zoom link, you can go back to the Borough website and find the Zoom meeting link there. And we'll tap you in. But do please come out and say what you have to say. We will suspend the rules if you want to add your comments in later as things come up on the agenda. But since no one is chomping at the bit here at the public hearing, we will close that and move on to our regular meeting. And to call that to order, I would ask Mayor Walker to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gladly. Do this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh,
Shoot.
shoot.
Do it again.
Yes. Big.
Are we still streaming?
We're still, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor Walker, for leading us in the pledge. And I would ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
David Alexander,
Here.
Talon Shreve,
Here.
Krista Zappone,
Here.
Dominic Canelli,
Here.
Lisa Minor,
Here.
Joe Chatfield, Jeff Stanger, Richard Hammond,
Here.
Jared Zimmerman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Move to excuse the absent.
Second.
Members.
Moved by Mr. Shreve to excuse, and it's been seconded. Any discussion on excusing those absent? Anyone opposed to excusing the absent members? All right, hearing none, we'll call that unanimous. And we will move on to public comments. During this section of the agenda, the assembly receives comment from the public. When providing comment, please include your full name and limit your testimony to approximately 3 minutes per person.
Yes, you can talk.
I live in the McKinley Village. Is that all I was supposed to say? Something? Okay. And I just want to say thanks to the assembly for giving us money for this building, the McKinley Community Center, because it's the heartbeat of the community, and a lot of people come here, and it just instills community spirit. And thanks so much for, like I said, giving us money so that we could keep this building afloat. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to approving our agenda.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Shreve to approve and seconded. Any discussion or changes to the agenda? Okay, anyone opposed to approving? Hearing none, we'll call that unanimous. The agenda is approved.
Amber, do you have another pen?
Yeah.
Mine is dead.
We just did, public comment, but if, either of you had a public comment you'd like to make, go for it.
In regards to anything specific or?
No, we had a public hearing on, the Healy Spur Road project match allocation, which is an ordinance coming up on the agenda tonight. But then public comment could be anything of, interest to the assembly.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. It just makes it a whole lot easier. I think it's wonderful that there's, and, I understand the necessity of embellishing our road systems and the turnoff points and this and that. And I guess like one thing that has been of concern to me is the opportunity to have a trail system that goes all along the Nenana River from the McKenna River Bridge to the entrance of the park road. And I'm just like, have so often seen when I've been skiing or hiking there, it's kind of the last unchoked off point for moose and caribou and wolves and whatever's interacting between the park and the Yanner. And there's just going to be a whole lot of development around McKinley Village. There's going to be a lot of people there. And I really feel like, we've seen, development from McKinley Village south to Carl Creek and, the canyon. And it's kind of the last place for that interaction with wildlife, but also for, people that maybe would not require development. And I think safety is hugely important in the consideration of all this development, but not necessarily to accommodate more tourism. That would be my thing. I had a real problem with the gravel pit across the highway from us at mile 228 last summer. There was a man camp there, and people are great. They're working, they're earnest about how to make a living, but their dogs come across the highway to our house, and our dogs follow them across the highway, and that is lethal, and I heard the occasional gunshot, and everybody denies that there's any use of firearms and the gravel pit over here or there, but I think it's what they do on their off time. And those trails are used a lot, that's the oldest residential area around Denali, where Sheila Harris and Bill Carroll and all of that. And it's not a concern, living there with, I understand the necessity of, you got to find a place for a man camp, but it seems kind of like they say one thing, but they do another. And if it's in your neighborhood, like I'm sure anybody who lives there, it's a concern. And because those trails are very much used year round, and just sure don't want any kind of target practicing.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. Thank you for joining us. Let's see, did we just approve the agenda?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're down to the minutes.
Okay, so yeah, we'll move on to approving our minutes from the last meeting, and that was from January 11th.
Move to approve the minutes of January 11th meeting.
Second.
Oh, did you get a new?
That should be, February 8th meeting, February 8th,
February
meeting minutes.
8th. Sorry.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Shreve and seconded to approve. All right. Any discussion changes to the minutes? Anyone opposed to approving? All right. Hearing none, we'll call that unanimous approval. And that'll bring us to partner reports. And tonight, we have Mr. Scott Thompson with the City of Anderson. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Thompson.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
So Clay Walker got a hold of me about 4 weeks ago when all this stuff started happening here in Anderson, and he was asking you guys for funding and telling you what he was planning on doing with that disaster declaration for the sewer system. And he just wanted to, for somebody to get online with you guys and let you know exactly what's happened, what is the process currently, why we're where we're at, and where we expect to go. So we're seeing a lot of new faces. I don't know if I'll be able to fit this into 3 minutes, but I'll do my very best of skipping time. Roughly 1988, Village Safe Water, DEC came into Anderson and a bunch of other communities and made assessments on sewer systems. Back then, it was you'd call up Lawson's or whoever was doing it, and he'd go, "Yep, you got a 4-door, so it's going to cost you $400 to get it pumped." Everybody had buried cars, kind of like they do down in Healy, and I'm sure the other places through the borough. So they said you have about 20 years, and you're going to pollute your water source. In early 2000s, they came back and revisited that, and that's when they're like, "Man, our 20-year mark, we were probably off. We need to start moving on it now." So they started with the sewer system. The sewer system was originally designed by PDC with multiple changes done by Village Safe Water to save money. Originally, it should have cost about $8 million. I think last price I saw, and Clay can nod yes or no if he agrees, was about 18 million with the cost savings that they made to the original design. From day one, the city mayor, the city council, they have all refused to sign for the system to say it was complete, meaning Village Safe Water has open grants with the federal government for 75% of the funds and with the state for 25% of the funds. The reasons why they refuse to sign for it is the system is only operational when it is forced to work. You can't make water run on a 0.0001 grade in the middle of the winter in Alaska. There's numerous cracks in the manhole systems. They came in and tried to seal them back together with big metal straps on the inside to hold them together, but the ground just moves so much, it opens them back up and water fills the system. So moving up to December of last year, we noticed our pump house started to run longer than what it normally would, which would indicate the water table was starting to come up and we were hitting that time of year. Unfortunately, it was about 2 months too early for that time of year. Within 2 weeks, the pumps wouldn't shut off. So the state got involved the best they could, I guess, working with them guys. The pumps were not able to pump off the water as fast as it was coming into the system. And the lagoon was then overfilling. That's when, we started here asking our representative, and I forget his name, Clay might remember Jeremy's replacement, but asking him, is this something that we can declare an emergency on? And he advised, after checking into the state rules, yes, it is something. It would be a disaster. You can't deal with it. You're going to need to get, compensation for it somehow, some way, and it'll make other people start moving. So I contacted Mayor Walker and talked to him about it, and thankfully he was all on board. Yep, this is definitely something that needs to happen. By us declaring these emergencies, it's going to open the eyes up, higher up through the governor and so forth. So both the city council and Mayor Walker, and I believe you guys approved Mayor Walker's decision, and thank you for that. The declarations got signed, and we started a process with the state EOC. And when we were on the first phone call with the state EOC, some really interesting stuff came out, and Mr. Walker and I and Forrest we were kind of shell shocked. The gentleman that was running the meeting for the state said he contacted NOAA. And I was like, okay, why would we contact NOAA when we have a water problem in our sewer lines? Interesting fact, on January 3rd, the monitoring station for the Nenana River in Nenana started reporting the highest flow ever recorded since they've been tracking it. Huge amounts of water was coming under the ice down from up basically your guys' way, Tri Valley, wherever it came from. I forget, and Mayor Walker may remember where he said there was an event of snow and then it warmed up drastically. So that water got in under the ice. So what we believed happened after that meeting, after further investigating with NOAA and some hydrologists, is the water got under the ice. And as it was coming down through the river, it mushroomed out and pushed water well beyond the normal spots that we get high water in Anderson. So that water was able to find the holes and leaks in the system at a much higher rate than the pumps could pump. Average, we should be pumping about 13,000 gallons of water out of the system a day. We were right at about 703,000 and couldn't stop it. The lagoon is meant to handle a max of 40,000 gallons a day, and we were overflowing the banks. So with that, the state EOC, they modified the disaster declarations, and I believe the governor approved a natural disaster because it was something that couldn't have been controlled, even though ours and your guys's say that it's just a normal disaster. When the governor activated that or gave us the verbal agreement that he was going to be signing it, that allowed us to work with Forrest and Mayor Walker. We knew we weren't going to be wasting money. Everybody in this town appreciates your $20,000, but we would have wasted it in 2 days and it would have went nowhere. So we were working with Mayor Walker and Forrest on how could we spend your money the best without wasting it and making sure the state was going to get in here to help us recoup these costs. So when the governor signed that, that gave us the green light that we would be able to get funding. So we executed with Forrest on getting a huge heater. It was like 750,000 BTUs to start thawing manholes. And Village Safe Water sent up a crew to help John and myself get the lines that had sat with water and froze to get them thawed. We were basically looking at 22,000 22,000 feet of pipe under the ground that was frozen. So we immediately went into the emergency recovery stage of the operation, which was we used the borough landfill guys to come out and cut the hard pack off the road for us while crews were getting down in the manholes, trying to heat up manholes. We had the city of Nenana down here sucking water out of manholes that weren't moving so we could get into them. And we had the state up here with 2 guys and their equipment. It took about 2 weeks, 17 days roughly to get most of the mains flowing again. And then we moved into trying to recover the service lines from the homes. We did have 2 homes with 2 adults in each home that were without services at all. One of those homes was a full 17 days. We did work with those 2 homes to come up with a alternate way for them to be able to use facilities. And they were pretty happy with the solution that we found, providing what the situation was. So since then, we've picked up sandbags out in Nenana. Again, they helped us up there. And we've started to line the lagoon to keep the water inside. We do have a company just finished today. I was able to get a company down from Fairbanks to help us with all the service lines to make sure everybody was 100%. And starting Monday, we have, we'll be moving into more of the inspection portion of the declaration. And College Utilities, they have a very nice, they call it a surveillance van. It's like $1.2 million. And they can drop cameras down in manholes and drive them for 3,000 feet if they need to. And you basically get a perfect view of inside of the line. If they come across a crack in a line, they have the capability of sealing the line from the inside. And they also, if it's a valve or a seal that is leaking at any of the joints, they can drop in seals from the inside. So just to give you a rough estimate on what those costs will be, because it's not cheap, we're basically looking at about, I think the heater that you guys rented for us is about $4,000 or $3,000 a month, something like that. This camera, when it gets down here, is basically $4,000 a day for a 10-hour day. And that doesn't count the drive time from Fairbanks or back to Fairbanks. So their actual use of that camera, you know, is 8 hours, maybe 7.5 roughly, to get in there and figure out exactly what's going on. We're able to use them as a pass-through charge to the city, meaning they're going to give us a bill, we're going to give it to the state's going to pay us, we'll pay them. We can use them on anything that contained water that normally doesn't. And thankfully, about 5-6 years ago, we started a work order program, and we have very good records on exactly, like if I was to go into a manhole, the work order would say something like manhole 61, I had to thaw 35 feet and I busted through a chunk of ice and the line drained. So we know, you know, we have pretty good track history of where the problem issues were. None of the areas that, let's call it the action areas, were affected normally. So they'll come down, they'll identify, and then they also have another crew that we have access to that can come in and seal the manholes that normally don't leak from the inside. And they drill holes through them and they inject a foam to the outside. And when it comes in contact with water, it seals from the outside. So this has been going on. I think I actually contacted the mayor early January, and we're probably 2 to 3 weeks still in the recovery / inspection stages of it. And rumor mill is saying through the state, with the infrastructure money coming in, we were pretty much guaranteed to get some sort of fix on this, but now we've been moved up to basically we're number one. So the individuals who currently work for Village Safe Water, the engineers, the lady in charge of DEC, her boss, none of those people were here when the system was built. When they look at the plans, the first thing they go is say, who changed this? You know, and it's like, well, that guy's no longer here, so we can badmouth him, or we can just get through it and figure out what's going to happen in the future. So I think we're on a pretty good path. I think talking with the mayor, it's easier for us. We would have to do all the reporting that you guys have to do. So it just adds more hands into the pot if we were to keep exercising your guys's kindness and using of the borough funds to facilitate through the state. But it just makes an extra step. We would accomplish it, and then you guys would have to accomplish it. So there's the heater that we're under currently, and Forrest and I just talked today, and we're going to keep that for another month through him. So that'll be a 2-month rental for you guys. And then the rest of this stuff, we're basically passing it straight through to the state in an attempt to identify exactly what all is wrong with this system. And hopefully it comes out here in the next, year, maybe 2, more likely 3 or 4, that there's some huge improvements to the sewer system. The comment, I believe Mayor Walker was on the phone call when it was said from one of the high ups in DEC or Village Safe Water is, you are going to get fixed. It is not our job to come into small villages or towns and create problems. This problem will bankrupt that city and probably the borough. I don't think you guys have $18 million laying around to replace it at an income cost of probably $60,000 a year. It takes quite a while to get that money back. So when they said that, it's a totally different atmosphere from those guys coming down with trying to get this thing fixed and working for us. And hopefully it works out fairly well. So unless you guys have any questions, that's pretty much the sewer system problem in a nutshell. If you do have questions, concerns, comments, best thing to do is any one of you, you can contact Trista up there at city office. You can get a hold of Mayor Walker. He's got my cell phone. I think I've texted him at 10 o'clock at night. I don't think neither one of us is shy. I don't think neither one of us is shy of just texting the other person when something needs to get done. So definitely, if you got any questions or concerns, or you hear anything crazy, there was stuff in the newspaper that wasn't correct. There was stuff on the news that wasn't correct. There was one the boil water notice that the mayor put into place was strictly 100% out of caution, because we could have had mixture of sewage coming out of the lines getting into the water table, and the state DEC, they were like, yeah, you're getting millions of gallons of water under there. You'd have to have like New York to pollute that water table right now. But after enough arguing, and I think Clay probably was on that phone call with them, of, are you going to tell my residents that you don't care? It's $50 a test, somebody should pay for it. So we were able to get tests. We did have 3 come back hot for total fecal and E. coli. Totally different areas of the city. One of them wasn't even within the hot zone or the action zone. The DEC people, the Safe Water people, and our biologists folks that we have test all believe that it's isolated to a well. Golly gee whiz information for anybody listening. There's a process you're supposed to do to your personal well every 10 years. It's called shocking it. Did not know that. I do test my personal well every year on the odd years, but never knew anything about shocking a well. And when I talk to people here in town about it, it's a shocking discussion, because no one else knew about this problem or process either. But apparently you're supposed to do it to your well every 10 years. It does appear that 2 of those have been shocked, and they are now clear and coming back with good water. So it doesn't appear that we did do anything to the water table. And we still have kits that under the SEOC that we are able to give out to residents if they're concerned, and test their water either again or help them through the state process to get their well fixed.
Right. Thank you very much for the history and the update. Thanks for all the work that you and your crew have done up there to take care of your people. Glad that we could have helped and are helping in the way that we have. And I'm glad to hear good responses from the state in terms of interest in fixing the problems that can be fixed.
Right.
Sounds like natural disasters are natural disasters, and I hadn't heard that part about just like the Nenana flooding and how all that caused the flooding that had to happen. But
it was definitely a pretty interesting phone call when we were on there, Mayor Walker, and there was probably 10 of us when he started talking about it, and the water guys started talking about how it comes out from under the river and pushes it way far back because it's all trapped under the ice and the frozen ground. And it was an eye-opener. I would have never in 1,000 years thought to call NOAA on a sewer water problem, but it worked. And yeah, the help that you guys provided, Travis came down with that grader. You did great. The heater is working great, so much appreciated. And thanks.
Anything else from Mr. Thompson? Okay. Thanks for joining us.
All right, I'll see you on the other side.
All right. I don't see any other partner reports.
Not that we had lined up, and I don't see anybody else online, so. That was it.
And school district report.
Yeah, Superintendent Polta asked me to share his regrets that he can't be with us this evening. And he did have a couple notes that he asked me to share as well. I did attend that last school board meeting down in Campwell. And at that meeting, they did advance only one scenario. They had three scenarios, three different budget scenarios that the school board was contemplating. And they advanced only one for the FY24 budget. And that is the scenario that does operate all three community schools, all three brick and mortar schools. But it also has a fair number of cuts in there as well. And the budget will be discussed and adopted at their March meeting. They pushed their regular third week meeting back a week due to spring break. So it will be March 30th, and it will be in Anderson, Alaska. So that's when they expect to approve their budget. And more Anderson news, the well and the pump at the Anderson school had been out for going on a couple of weeks, still out at this time, still offline, the water in the school. Superintendent Polter reported that they did place porta potties at the school, provided public drinking water, and recently they've been moving education into the city building. The neighboring city building has been hosting some of that coursework. So we offered support if there's anything we could do to help. And sorry to hear that we had the outflow issues, and then this is the inflow, the water, not the sewer. Superintendent Polta also reports that legislative advocacy continues, and he'll continue to monitor the hearings and share when there are opportunities to provide public testimony on the important issue of increased funding for our children's education. And that's what Superintendent Polta had to report, and I'm happy to report that he and his wife were able to finally take the trip that they suspended after our meeting here at the McKinley Village Community Center in March of 2020. Shortly thereafter, that night, a lot of us will always remember that night that a lot of things started shutting down right after that meeting or during that meeting, and including his trip to Hawaii with his wife. So he's able to take that 3 years later.
Well, I hope you're enjoying streaming the meeting from Hawaii, Dan.
I know you are.
Feel free to log in and say hi if you want. And we'll move on to a finance committee report.
The financial report.
Oh, the finance report before the finance committee report. Finance
Are you
report?
looking at me?
No.
Oh, good. I'm not there.
Is there a motion to receive the finance
I'm going
report?
to receive the financial report.
I second.
Moved by Mr. Shreve and seconded. Any discussion on the finances? Anyone opposed to receiving? Okay, we'll call that unanimous. And now we will move on to a finance committee report.
All right, I'll take this one. It was good to meet with the group, got some new members on the finance committee, which is always good to be able to have more people there. So it's nice having a group of 4 right now. And we did a lot of this meeting was just kind of getting to know what the finance committee is there for and what we help with in the for the assembly. And the first thing we talked about was our investment activity. It's looking really good, especially with these interest rates for the CDs going up. And we are we had some during the past few years, we shortened our CD terms. That way we had better cash flow just in case we needed it. And now we're going to start stepping those back out, especially with these higher interest rates, capture some of that a little bit more than we have in the past. So it's our investment activity is looking really good right now, and the trends are still going up. We're keeping up with the inflation rate and all that, and it's looking really good. And then yeah, we worked on setting our allocation for the permanent fund investments. We kept them the same, very conservative to make sure that we are keeping our investments in a spot to where we're not going to be going up with these ups and downs of the markets right now. Yeah, and then we talked about our capital improvement projects and just kind of went over those. Mayor Walker gave us a good rundown of some of the projects that have been on there for a while and what we're looking at doing with them, and just how the process works and how we've been working a lot of them off the system. It just doesn't seem like it, but they have been moving forward, and it's been good to see, and that we still have some on there. And yeah, we just keep that rolling. So
I think we're gonna decide to put more on there, right?
yeah, and then we're gonna look at to see what else we can put on there to fill in for the next ones coming off. And then that was about it. Did you have anything else to add, Mayor?
That was a good recap.
Any of the other finance committee people have anything else to say?
No, it was a good meeting though.
Yeah, it was.
My first and fun.
Yeah, and next month we're gonna choose who our committee leader is. So, or not next month, but next meeting, sorry. But yeah, so it was a good meeting, good recap. It's always good to go over it again, why we're there, what we're doing, and making sure we bring it to the assembly. That way we have the questions all ready to go. Make our meetings a little shorter, because they can be turned into long meetings without having the finance committee there.
Yeah, so we'll have resolution 2311 on the
Right.
agenda.
Yep.
In a minute here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And planning commission report? Did you have anything to report out from planning commission work?
Happy to provide that, as, yeah, I attended that most recent meeting, which was the February Planning Commission meeting, and you know that they've been looking at borough lands and how we can both help the local economy and also help the housing shortage here by potentially getting some of our municipal land entitlement lands, into private hands. And so at this session, they've previously been honing in on a couple prime areas, and they're still very, very keen on that lignite area that has, state road access, has power right there, and has good buildable land, and they are interested in looking at what a conceptual design for a subdivision there might look like, right? And we're in some preliminary discussions with some engineers on that, but also they wanted to kind of look broadly as well. So it was kind of like a work session when they looked at all of our municipal entitlement lands, 49,000 acres, but not every single acre, right? They kind of screened it through the residential classification. What do we have that's residential classification? And then furthermore, what do we have title to? What's been boundary surveyed? By the way, that lignite area, we do not have title to it. We have management authority, but we don't have title to that land right now. It's coming, but not soon. So that's what the meeting was really about. And they did look at some parcels, that are kind of size, right? 5 acres. Of course, the few lots that we have sold were already subdivided out in the Penguin subdivision, right? So they're looking at lots like those. There are some in the northern part of the borough. And they did look at some of the, well, they looked at a lot of the different residentially classified lots, basically. And they canceled the March meeting, which was falling during spring break, and there's no plat on the coming. So so there's no March meeting, and that's where we are with the planning. That's what I have for you for the planning commission report.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the mayor's report.
Hey.
Mayor Wander,
All right.
busy man.
Thank you. Mr. Zimmerman, and I really do want to thank Chief Thompson for jumping on the call with us, for providing that partner report, for providing that background, that really good recap. It really, it was a lot of work there that he put in, and yeah, you know, so the borough put some work in, time in, and together, you know, together, I thought we worked the issue very well, especially on the state level, and proud of, you know, the teamwork that happened there, and where we are right now, and it was kind of a pretty difficult situation. That's good to see the light at the end of the sewer line there. And I here at the McKinley Community Center, I want to thank Jakar Hubbard for making his cookies. Very nice. Here. And
Everybody's missing it. It's on Zoom.
and we do have a lighter meeting in terms of our agenda this evening. There's some financial things that we're kind of waiting for. I mentioned waiting for accountants, waiting for auditors, and we're not alone. Talking with folks at statewide, you know, conference, talking with other financial professionals. There's a big backlog out there, and so we would have had a few more things for your agenda, finance wise, budget wise, but we're waiting on some of those things. And so I'll move into my written report, which you have in your packet there. And yeah, it starts off with a little update on the city of Anderson water system. And really grateful that the Governor Dunleavy did declare that state of emergency, that disaster declaration was really helpful and is going to help the city and residents greatly. Glad that's moving forward, and you know, the borough will be working with DHSEM to recoup our kind of modest expenses in support of that response. I do want to let you know about a couple conferences I attended this past month. I did do a quick kind of 2-night trip all the way to Washington, DC. Yeah, I do serve on the board of the National Association of Counties, and they host that great legislative conference every February, and or sometimes in March. And I got back for it. I attended the board meeting and a full day of conference and about a half day of congressional meetings with our delegation. So I didn't attend every conference session. I did miss when President Biden came to speak to the group. I was actually in a congressional meeting at that time. But they put on a great conference. The sessions included, I was there for a presentation from Transportation Secretary Buttigieg, Federal Agency Roundtable, and attended a really good Public Lands Wildfire Resiliency Summit. The congressional meetings all went very well, although scheduling was a challenge to have the boss there. Especially didn't help that that unidentified objects were shot down, and they had a briefing that morning for my meetings. There was a Senate briefing, and the House was actually not in session, which is unusual too. But in each meeting, of course, I presented our federal priorities that we approved, and the discussions, you know, went over an hour, talked about the borough's progress, talked about our needs. And, you know, I think we don't hire a lobbyist like pretty much every other borough in the state. So it is important to take that time and effort. And certainly those chiefs of staff and legislative, you know, aides who I met with were appreciative. And when, you know, they appreciated, you know, the mayor coming directly. They say sometimes that, you know, the places that do hire lobbyists, those lobbyists come and they're like, we could just be talking to the people that are working the issue rather than, going through a middleman. So, so that's what they had to share. They said they were pleased to work directly with the Denali Borough. And then the next week was the Alaska Municipal League Legislative Conference. Really appreciate Talon Shreve and Assembly members Talon Shreve and Dominic Canali participating in those sessions, attending those legislative meetings. That was February 21st to the 24th. The conference was really good. A lot of presentations on the state's fiscal position, DOT's planning and priorities, agency updates, carbon sequestration was certainly a topic, and of course, current legislation. We did hear from Governor Dunleavy, numerous legislators, and Senator Murkowski came in person. Our legislative meetings, of course, we discussed our positions, priorities, as well as that bigger fiscal picture, certainly a topic in the building. They were really varied, those meetings, and somewhat illuminating. We did meet with our representative McCabe and Senator Shower, and scheduled a meeting with a range of legislators, building those relationships. The 40% of the legislature are new freshmen. So, met with a few of those folks as well as some folks we've known for a long time. And some meetings were canceled due to illness. There was some COVID going around the building at the time. We dispersed 20 packets and took in 10 in-person meetings. And so to some other topics, that 2.18 in congressionally directed spending from the omnibus bill that Senator Murkowski's team helped out with. The borough's working through that right now with the agency who's receiving the funding, that's NPS, and the nonprofit who was named as the recipient, that's Alaska Trails. They didn't really want to be named as the recipient, but they were. And the department we anticipate using the money to forward pedestrian paths here, Alaska DOT. So the borough is working with all those agencies and entities, and it'll take a minute, but we'll get the funding to where it into the right hands. And excited about making progress on ped paths in the borough with the federal nexus. It's got to it's got to have that federal nexus.
So everything starts in the park. And it expands out.
It's got to somehow touch the park.
Okay.
Is this the long trail?
It did come through as long trail funding.
Uh-huh.
You could see it as a part of the long trail, yes. If you'd like to walk through here, you could do it on one of these ped paths. Yeah, so yeah, we're working with DOT in terms of how it's going to be spent, in terms of a federal nexus of trails. If you go take the planning and design money that's required to go from Carlo to Krabby's Crossing to the bridge, and from say Stampede to the park, it's over $4 million in design money. So, and that's design.
It's just design.
So, so this won't get us all the way there at all. But it's
Because I'm sorry, how much is allotted for that?
it's 2.18 is what
Okay.
we received.
So it seems like a lot of
I'd
money,
say
but it's
we-
really
it's
not getting too far.
No, nor construction, no.
Yeah,
No, we're looking at, and we can talk more about that, but we're looking at committing 800,000 to the transportation alternative program project that we're forwarding, and that's coming up basically, how we're gonna use these monies. But it's gonna be planning these trails, and we're gonna have them shovel ready and ready to be funded.
when the funding comes.
Yeah, maybe not all of them, because it's not enough. And we actually are planning on putting in for another CDS, another tranche of congressionally directed spending, should that be available once again. So that's what's going on with that. then we put in this raised grant application that was a big lift. Oh my gosh. With the support of grant writers from AML, the borough did submit a raised grant application. That's a federal DOT grant application, and yeah, for a priority project. It's been a priority project here for a lot of years. It was a priority through the identified in the 2022 Pell study, and that's the Parks Highway Crossing Elimination Railroad Realignment. The cost benefit analysis came in that, hey, this is a good investment, even though it's incredibly expensive to move a railroad in a national park. And at the same time, it came in with, almost double your money in terms of an investment. And so to increase safety, reliability, and decrease maintenance costs, we worked to submit that application with DOT and the railroad. And that'll be coming to you. We didn't have time to get it on your agenda. Really, there's a lot of feverish work just this past week to get it in by the due date. And we also did get commitments from Alaska DOT and Alaska Railroad to the tune of $9 million for the construction of the project. But we'll see. We've applied for a raised grant before with the help of DOT. That was for the 231 project here. Well, we weren't awarded that. This is a very competitive program. But we're chasing it. We're going. So we got that in, and then on CTP, that's Community Transportation Program and Transportation Alternatives Program, the TAP. You're going to have resolutions to these projects also at your next meeting, supporting these applications. DOT only has a call for these projects every 3 years, so it's a real opportunity. And we do have great staff member Teresa Floberg working on this, and some really good connections right now. We feel really good about these 3 applications. They've been submitted, in coordination with DOT, and that they've vetted them early to make sure they're projects that are eligible. And so the CTP application is the Otter Lake Road reconstruction, which includes shoulders on both sides. And the 2 TAP applications are the Healy area pedestrian paths that we came out once before and were unsuccessful, and a separated path from Suntrana, which is just across the street from the highway from the school, Suntrana Road, to the Antler Ridge parking lot, a long stretch of highway side head path. The focus was really on higher trafficked areas, leading to public facilities such as schools, parks, Otter Lake, post office, and connecting to a trailhead, which has a federal nexus. And so, expect resolutions for those 3 projects. Again, this is a very competitive program, and I don't expect that we'll have all 3 funded, but we're hopeful. They're strong applications. DOT said they're looking good. I'm speaking of transportation, a lot of transportation work these days. I am serving on a working group for the development of a DOT required update of the Interior Alaska Transportation Plan. Look forward to representing our area as that plan moves forward. And then, looking back on the month, Winterfest was great, and really thank everybody who worked to make it such a hit. Lots of activities in the park and in Healy. It was the 23rd annual Winterfest, and the borough did our part with the Saturday night event at the Tri-Valley Community Center, hosting a community dinner and bingo. So I do want to thank those who donated food and serviceware, Holland American Princess, Doyon Aramark, and the school groups who, for the fundraisers, did so much work. Tri-Valley School Music Department provided the desserts, and the ELA class cooked, served, set up, broke down, did a lot, and really thank them. And thanks to the native village of Cantwell and the council there for bringing the bingo. It's been a hit. People love the bingo. And the 10th annual now, Denali Borough Mayor's Community Service Award went to the dedicated couple, Renee and Baxter Mercer, for their many years of service in so many ways here in the borough, but you know, of course, service to the Denali Borough itself, on the Assembly and Planning Commission, Tri-Valley Volunteer Fire Department, but also establishing and maintaining Mountains of Fun Playground. And wow, and so the borough will be installing a bench, lasting kind of thank you to them, thanks to Baxter and Renee for everything they do. And I do want to let you know, let's see, I also reported another meeting I attended was representatives from the Federal Interagency Working Group on Coal and Power Plant Communities and Economic Revitalization. It's a mouthful. And so we met and discussed programs for which we may be eligible, seeing what's out there. I'm actually going to attend one of their sessions on what's in the IJA bill next week as well. So seeing what they have to say and how they might be able to help things here. So that's what I've got for you. Enjoy the nice warmer weather and wonderful month here in March. And I'm happy to take any questions.
So Clay, in, you know, all the transportation monies and talk and stuff, is there like any serious commitment to public transportation between like Carlo and Lee and, you know, just for people to be able to, you know, is that a priority or?
It's a good question, Dan. That was discussed and raised to a level of priority, yes, in that health study. That planning and environmental linkage study, you know, they DOT, I thought, did a great job with that study, soliciting public input, and you know, they did finalize it at the beginning of 2022, and that's in there. That's a goal, and it's a tough one I was part of a group that tried to make progress on it years ago, and it was difficult. And it ultimately, you know, there wasn't a new transit association stood up here as a result of that. It would take that type of level of structure, but the borough's interested, and I think you know, it's a little ways off, but it's in that plan, and getting it in that plan is significant. Yeah.
About bike trails.
Well, these pet paths are bikeable, you know, these are highway side bike paths, yeah. So we're working hard on those. There's no new bike path being constructed right now outside the national park, but we're chasing those projects and chasing those dollars, and I'm hopeful that we're gonna get there. It'll take a while, step by step.
I mean, the design money that we got, that would include also that bike path, right? The multi-use path.
The $2 million.
The $2 million of the design funds
Are you talking inside the park or outside?
outside the park, or well, I guess it's really inside the park, I guess. Right, because
It's currently not envisioned that it would be spent on that.
okay.
But I think we did include that in the raise grant.
Right.
We didn't include it in the raise grant.
Yeah, I guess it's not inside. It is inside the park.
Yeah.
Go on to, thank you very much for the report, Mayor Walker.
That's amazing.
Happy to.
Yeah.
A lot of great staff working on all this. It's not just me.
Right.
A lot of great staff working on this.
But we'll go
Not a lot
to,
of staff. Staff working very hard.
Very great chief staff.
So is it okay to ask how much longer is Teresa here? You know, and can she do any of this long distance, or is it gonna be a open position, or is that even open discussion? What's
We can have more information on that later.
We will go on to assembly comments. And we'll go down in order, starting in seat eight, Mr. Canal.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone for attending this evening. I appreciate the report out. Mayor Walker, thanks for covering for Superintendent Polta, as well as the Planning Commission report. And then your own, very busy month. I was glad to participate with the AML Legislative Conference in Juneau with Talon and Mayor Walker. The legislative meetings with our representatives did go well. And certainly with some of the legislation in front of the state legislature, particularly education, it's important that our state reps do hear from the public as it pertains to those potential funding bills before both the House and the state Senate. So let your voices be heard. And I want to thank members of the public for commenting this evening, providing public testimony, particularly as the borough, as the assembly begins to weigh forthcoming resolutions to fund certain projects. Obviously, the community has a stake in the outcome of that funding. I encourage public to continue to voice their opinions and concerns as these items reach the agenda. So anyway, thanks, and look forward to the rest of the meeting.
Mr. Alexander.
Yeah, thanks for the reports. Mayor's done the heavy lifting today with reporting for everybody, and thanks for the public coming and applause. And it's nice to be in our home little area here for our meeting. And also the bingo was really fun, even though I didn't win. I was this close.
Mr. Shreve.
Yeah, thank everybody for coming in the comments, and I really appreciate Mr. Thompson getting on and telling us about the full story for the sewer system. It was really good to hear. I've only heard pieces and parts, and having the whole thing to be able to connect together really helps to put it in perspective, and just how long the city of Anderson's been working on this project to get it to where it can be a completed thing and usable 100%. So thank you for the time and effort you've put into that, and making sure the community has the basic needs met. And I also like to I really appreciated having the opportunity to go down to AML conference with Mr. Canali and the mayor. It was a lot of meetings. That was the most I've done while we were in Juneau. And it was really fun to be able to meet with everybody and to see where everybody's at, and to see how well liked we're down there. It was they're always talking about it, and even with the other mayors that we met with, they're still talking about our AML conference that we had up here in August. I heard it about 4 or 5 times. It was really cool. So the mayor's work and the staff's work that they've been doing is being heard, and people are noticing us. With any of the legislators that we met with, they knew a lot about what we had going on, and they are willing to listen to us, and the more public comment, the better. So it's always good for us to be able to get down there and represent ourselves, and to be able to go to also just to the different meetings and things to get updated on some of the new programs that they have going out. The one that really struck me was their the regional planning organization from the DOT. They talked about a new program that they're starting to roll out for rural projects, and having designated areas to have lists of projects that they want done in that area. So it's something that could be interesting to look in as we move forward with some of the projects we have, to help also have a list with the state directly, because we already have ours. But yeah, a lot of a lot of stuff that we've been talking about are the needs throughout all the state. One of the other big ones was housing. Talked a lot about that and just how the need for housing is everywhere to be able to get the people that we need for teachers and doctors and all this type of stuff to help fill the needs in the communities. So these meetings, they're not just to go down and to have fun, but it's work the whole time, and they're really good. I recommend anytime that you can to get down to them. The one in November is great for information and getting to know the other people, and then the one down in Juneau is really good to be able to get to talk to the legislators and actually get our projects moving forward and into their hands and their minds. And yeah, and the biggest, I almost forgot this, the biggest thing that they loved is our folders that we gave them with all the information. They like every one of them said that the way that we did our projects on one page and made it to where it was memorable. So that's what, yeah, it was cool to see that, and they wanted me to let the staff know that they were very pleased and amazed by the folders that we gave them with all the information in it. That's all I have. Thanks.
Ms. Minor? Still there?
Yeah. Yes, still here. Sorry, technical difficulties, and apologize for not being able to be there. I had mom taxi duties. So but so I just thank you for the public that has come on, and for the city of Anderson, and thanks to those that did go to the AML conference, and thank you, Talon, for sharing that stuff. I do hope to go one day, but it's really neat to see, and so kudos to the staff and the mayor for providing all the information for the legislation, and it's exciting to hear all of the projects that are coming and the growth in the area that hopefully follows. So I'll leave the rest of the comments for later.
Ms. Zabon?
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. It's good to be in McKinley Village again. Just really exciting to hear all the updates. Frankly, I'm glad to hear AML went so well. And pretty excited about some of these other grants and projects that you guys have been working on. It goes without saying that the amount of hours that go into these applications before they're submitted is substantial. And so just kudos to you and the administration for getting that done for us. I heard bingo was a blast. Everybody really loves bingo. It's so silly. I finally played in Fairbanks, and I can understand why. That's all I got. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bummer March day today, but we've had a week and a half or so of really nice weather. So hopefully you got out to enjoy that. Staying safe, and appreciate your guys' comments about the trails and stuff here. Not living down here anymore, you kind of fall out of touch with some of that smaller community happenings, right? And so that's why I personally like coming to these other areas, so that we can see face to face and hear what you guys are dealing with. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Mayor Walker and all the staff for all the work. Thanks for everybody that went to AML and represented us down there. The family had a great day in the park at Winterfest. We missed out on bingo. Turned into a long day. We did not make it back out for bingo, but I'm glad everybody had fun. And just congratulations to the Mercers on a well-deserved community service award. Great to see. Yeah, Mr. Hammond.
Okay, great. Let me make sure. Okay, I'm unmuted. That's awesome. So yeah, I want to say thanks to the public that comes in and with the outreach and their comments. It really helps me stay in touch with what's going on with the whole borough versus this little world in Anderson and Clear that I stay so busy in. And I just want to make sure everybody knows I'm involved with everybody. And I want to know what's going on. So that absolutely helps fill me in with all the inside little things, trails and community buildings and everything. So I get a little excited about that stuff. I had my first meeting with the finance committee. Absolutely, and outstanding, transparency, informative. I had a great time. I'm always learning stuff, and it seems like a good group to get involved with, and we'll make some changes and make sure things run smooth for the whole borough here. The touching up on the Anderson School, I actually was working on the well and the pump right up to almost 6 o'clock, and I'm still in my work clothes, and I ran in here. So we've got that pretty much isolated, and we're looking at the actual pump itself and the well. So we've tested everything from the electrical panel through the school, through the pipe, through the heat tape, through everything, and we're right there to where we can get that hopefully taken care of soon. I know we've got some folks coming in tomorrow going to pull that up, and if we can figure that out and put our thumb on it and get the kids back in school, I think that's an accomplishment, and I'm so happy to be at that point after several weeks of dealing with this and getting the kids back where they belong and they're comfortable. So just wanted to add just a little more information to what you passed on, Mayor Walker. So and City of Anderson, wanted to thank Mr. Thompson for actually sharing that information. Obviously, I believe information's important and it needs to get out there, especially folks that can make decisions and help out if possible. So I think that's it. That's it for this one.
All right. We do not have any communications or appearances. That brings us to ordinances, and we do not have any draft ordinances, but we do have pending ordinance 23-01. And that is the Healy Spur Road project match allocation.
I move to approve. Ordinance 2301.
Moved by Ms. Zepone to approve and seconded. Any discussion on approval of ordinance 2301? Hearing none, I would ask for a roll call vote on approval.
Krista Zafon,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Lisa Minor,
Yes.
Dominic Canali,
Yes.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Alan Shreve,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman,
Yes.
passes unanimously.
Okay. Ordinance is approved. Brings us to resolutions, and we have two tonight. First one up is resolution 23-10, unincorporated community participation in the community assistance program.
Move to approve resolution 23-110.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Zepone to approve the resolution and seconded. Any discussion on approval?
Just an annual thing, if I recall, right?
Yeah,
Mayor Walker?
thank you. I'd be happy to, let you know exactly, Ms. Capone. It's an annual declaration of, from the governing body, from the assembly, of which organizations within our borough, within the unincorporated areas of our borough, are providing these services, and therefore making them eligible for community assistance program.
And these three organizations are longtime recipients.
Long-time recipients, yes.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, I would ask for a roll call vote on approval of resolution 23-10.
Dominic Canali,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Alan Shreve,
Yes.
Lisa Minor,
Yes.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Krista Zafon,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman,
Yes,
passes unanimously.
and that will bring us to, so that resolution is approved and brings us to resolution 23-11, which is our permanent investment fund asset allocation.
Move to approve resolution 23-11.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Zepone to approve and seconded. Any discussion on approval?
This is the document that you were referencing earlier in
Yeah.
your report, Tom.
Yep. Nothing changed.
Yeah, it's the same as last year, right?
Yeah. Just the date.
Every year.
If there's no other discussion, I would ask for a roll call vote on approval of resolution 23-11.
Richard Hammond,
Yes.
Dominic Canali,
Yes.
Crystal Sapone,
Yes,
Lisa Minor,
Yes.
Donna Shreve,
Yes.
David Alexander,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman,
Yes,
passes unanimously.
resolution is approved.
Proves it.
Brings us to other business. And first up is liquor license renewals. And we have up for renewal, Skyline Lodge, Lucky Miss Saloon, and Burger Shack.
make a motion of non-protesting for the 3 liquor license renewal.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Zafone to not protest and seconded. Any discussion?
I just had never heard of Lucky Miss Saloon.
No. Or Burger Shack
Or Burger Shack. Are they restaurants on property somewhere or?
in at their Aramark ones.
Okay.
Denali Park Village property.
Okay.
Just run the corner.
The luckiness and the.
And the Burger Shack, yeah.
Oh.
Burger
Shack, for sure, because I
work there.
Yeah.
I guess that means I've never heard anything bad about their liquor licensing, I guess.
Anyone opposed to not protesting? Hearing none, we'll call that unanimous non-protest. Bring us back to public comments. Anyone online wish to comment? Anyone here tonight?
I guess we want to go to Lucky Miss Saloon.
You might have to wait a minute.
Yeah. One still.
Could be a month or two.
Okay, if not, move on to assembly comments. And we'll go through again, Mr. Canali.
Yeah, well, thanks for an efficient meeting. That was pretty quick, pretty light. But definitely look forward to next month and following months as we get into budget season and all of the financial decisions that will be in front of the assembly in the coming months. So anyway, thanks for a great meeting and everybody be safe.
Mr. Alexander.
Thanks again for everybody who came. Thanks for Takar making cookies. And have a good night.
Mr. Shreve.
Yeah, thanks for the cookies. It was good to, yeah, and then thanks, yeah, for hosting us here. It is a nice building to see the improvements over the years. It's been good to see that the community has a good place to come and meet and be able to meet together. And yeah, I look forward to our next finance committee meeting just to get the financials done and to be able to get them all ready to bring them to the assembly meeting. That way we can get moving. It's like the mayor's told me a couple of times now, it's hard for us to do anything because we're forward funded without these numbers. So we appreciate the work that the staff's doing to get it ready to go and that the auditors are doing, and I'm sure they're doing as best they can as quick as they can. It's just sometimes gets slow with all these extra federal stuff going on. Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Minor.
I'm a little sad I missed the cookies. Thanks for a good meeting. And again, sorry I couldn't be there. Looking forward to next month and hope you guys all have a good night. Drive safe.
Ms. Bone.
Yeah, good meeting. It's a quick one, like everybody's mentioned, but there are plenty long ones coming down the pipe, so stay tuned for that as we go into budget season and work sessions and audit reports. And it is nice to have a quick meeting every once in a while, especially knowing that that's coming. But the other thing I wanted to mention I did not earlier is that I am glad to hear that the school district is going forward with the 3 operations. Look forward to hearing a little bit more about how that looks as far as a borough being in charge of those schools financially or whatever, like how they plan to do that. I'm glad that conversation has hit the ears it needed to say the least. On a lighter note, I am starting to see contractors and the summertime employees starting to trickle through the cafe. So there's maintenance folks getting the princess housing, they're redoing the siding, so spring is in the air, definitely. And that is exciting. Other than that, I am apologizing in advance to miss the special grant review meeting. I'm gonna be sending some other lines to that meeting, but I will have to miss it. So I look forward to watching the recording afterwards, which is another one of these little blessings of the COVID world where we record ourselves and I can watch you when I can. I don't fall too far out of space. Other than that, yeah, drive safe, those of us that are. It's gonna be wet out there, so be careful. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, I would like to extend my thanks to the school board for doing the work that they need to do in challenging fiscal times. And I certainly hope that the folks down in Juneau are hearing us and hearing our needs and able to respond to the needs that we have, what it costs to educate kids these days, with inflation and everything being what it is. So folks that are paying attention and care, do listen and pay attention. If you can engage with the people that vote on these matters when the time comes, I encourage you to do so. Because more money will make education better here. Because we can see pretty clearly, I think, in the budget scenarios that without additional funds coming down the pike from Juneau, we max out what we can give here. So short of additional funds, we're just making cuts from what we've been used to here. So please do that if you are so moved. Mr. Hammond.
Yeah, just to piggyback on the last two comments, I am excited that the schools, all three of them, are staying open. I'm excited for the communities and the kids who attend that. So that's absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, I know there's cuts coming along with it, but it's about the kids. So I'm very, very happy for them. And the only bad thing about Zoom, I'd love to be there tonight, but I didn't get the cookies. It's been wonderful working with everybody. Thanks.
Okay, next get together will be Tuesday, March 21st. For a grant review meeting. That'll be at the borough offices and via Zoom.
Yes.
Mayor Walker.
We did set that date and it's a good date. And I just recall that we set some of those Tuesdays with a bit of my input. Because I thought my classes were going to be on Wednesday nights. It's not. It's more floating in terms of my school. So we could meet on Wednesday night if you so choose. I just thought of that. It doesn't have to
The
be
public
Tuesday.
notice pretty close on that one to change it? No?
We still got time.
Okay.
There's time to change it if you want to. I have noticed it, but if we have time to change it, if there's a desire.
Anybody care enough to move to change the date?
No.
I just have to remember. That it's on a Tuesday. That it's on a Tuesday night.
Right now.
I can go right after ski club with my ski boots on.
Yeah.
Right, so we will meet Tuesday, March 21st. Finance Committee will meet Wednesday, April 5th. And the next regular meeting will be April 12th. 6 p.m. at the Denali Borough office and via Zoom. Thanks everybody for coming. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Oh, I can't second.
You can do that.
Unanimous. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Yeah, this community center has gotten a lot